Welcome to Two Across, the podcast where two friends on opposite sides of the Atlantic catch up over a crossword. I'm Theo Bosanquet, based in London.
And I'm Rob Cole, sitting in Montreal, Canada. So, good morning, good afternoon, Theo.
Good morning, Rob. Lovely to be speaking again. And you are back in Montreal from your big
I am
adventure.
back in Montreal, yeah. Yeah, got back 5 days ago, so resettling into the pre-Christmas narrative and realigning to that and all the child expectations of familial glee.
Yeah. I was having this conversation the other day about the misery of Christmas in your 40s when you have the hopes, dreams, and expectations of young children leaning on you like a weight that refuses to ease, and you have also the expectations of older family members who will want to see you. And in the middle of all this, you're thinking, I'm not actually sure there's much in this for me besides being some, present-giving slave. But anyway, let's try and enjoy the season as best we can.
So that's the thing for us, that the presents have become an oppression of presenting that we're trying to push back against with limited success. So we're doing a full family get-together this year. That hasn't happened in a long time. My older sister lives overseas. She's coming back. My younger sister, my mother, and then all the cousins are getting together. And this is a historic happening. It has not ever occurred with this whole set of cousins. It occurred before they were born.
Wow.
But now there's the whole presents. Who do you buy presents for? What are your expectations for presents? I have no expectations. I've told people I don't want anything. If you read a good book this year, buy me a book. But otherwise, yeah. I could do without very happily.
Or even better, give me the book that you read. This obsession with buying new things. And I know this is not a new idea, but why are we so obsessed, especially with young children, with buying them new things? Just give them some toy that you no longer need yourself, wrapped up in a thing. They'll be just as pleased. We are trapped in this endless cycle of commercialism and buy, which is depressing. And it's very, very hard to resist. And I have tried.
Because you're a monster. If you give someone a recycled thing, like you've basically shat on your kid's Christmas by giving them a used thing. It has to come in cellophane. Ideally, they have to be able to breathe that first toxic whiff of chemical when they take off the cellophane.
The magic of Christmas. Yeah, the smell of factory packaging. It is really oppressive, the obsession with new and with gift buying. And yeah, as you say, you don't want to be the guy who just gives all the kids moth-eaten clothes and dog-eared books. And yeah. I'll never forget a friend of mine when he was a kid, his grandfather, who was a man of obviously the wartime generation, would give him 50p every year. And it never changed, never went up with inflation. And of course, this became a sort of running family joke, but I'm sure that man, whenever his name is mentioned among his descendants, that's probably one of the first things they say. And I don't want that to be the first thing people say about me. Oh, he was the guy who gave us those 1950s comics because he was making some kind of protest against capitalism. Yeah, so it's tough. How are you otherwise? How was your journey back from Nepal? Because I know you made a stopover.
It was exhausting. So from Canada to Nepal is 10 hours and 45 minutes of time change. So it's quite a wallop to take. I had a stopover in Turkey and I managed to have 23 hours of layover. So I went into town. I'd never been into Istanbul before. That was interesting. I saw the Hagia Sophia and 2 other mosques and the bazaar and things like that. So it was nice. Ate Turkish metzes and bought a giant box of baklava to bring home to the kids. So I checked all the boxes of Istanbul. I don't need to go back.
Nice. Turkish delight?
I did have a bit of Turkish delight.
Always reminds me of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe and the White Witch's tempting of Edmund, which I always found slightly baffling because I never liked Turkish delight. I always thought that was a very strange thing to tempt him with, but fully recognise I'm probably in the minority there.
But I always thought that kids in the 40s or 50s or whenever C.S. Lewis was writing, they just had shittier candy. And I'm going to apologize for my swearing today. Let me repeat that. We can edit it. I'm always sad for kids in the 50s because it seems like they had crappier candy.
Yeah. Well said, Rob.
I just imagine Knickerbocker Glory and Turkish Delight and all these sorts of things that kids in knee socks and short pants would be eating on their way to their oppressive boarding school.
Yeah, it's true. There was an entitled child of the 80s, albeit one who did go to boarding school, but that's another story. Yeah, but there I was with my ready selection of milk tray and I don't know, whatever else we ate in the 80s, after eights, scoffing at the thought of Turkish Delight being at all appetizing. But then, yeah, you're right. This is an era of rationing, of hardship, and of children bloody well being grateful for a sliver of Turkish Delight, he says without any tone of bitterness. So, yeah.
And they would scoff at their parents' generation who only had dried candied fruit, which would have been, in the 1800s, so...
I quite often quote to my children Little House on the Big Woods, and particularly the Christmas scene. Sorry, Little House in the Big Woods. And the Christmas scene where the children essentially have no presents because there's been a huge snowstorm and nobody can get to them. And then I think it's just a friend of the family manages to make it through, and he brings them the most modest selection of gifts you've ever heard of in your life, like a sort of a hand-whittled wooden doll and a pine cone or something. And the children are so grateful for this and so overjoyed. And I say to my children, if we could just maybe remember a bit of that frontier spirit and just bear in mind that even in this gilded age, there are lots of people around the world who really would be grateful for just a hand-whittled wooden doll this Christmas. Can we please just park some of the endless, bottomless greed and remember those in need? But anyway, clearly that's Pollyanna-ish of me.
I think it's time for you to start whittling and take all the presents that you had bought for your kids and take those to someone in more need. And that will be your Christmas morning speech when you reach out with a 50p and a hand-whittled doll for your kids.
On which note, Rob, let's do a crossword. So, sorry, I'm just imagining my children's reaction as I hand them their hand-whittled dolls and pine cones.
With the whittling skills that you learned in 3 days of YouTubing before Christmas.
That's the thing. It wouldn't even be a well-whittled doll. Yeah.
No. It would be grotesque.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Oh, right. You poor little boy. He'd be traumatized with this thing in the corner.
Merry Christmas.
Dad's whittling golem staring at him from the window.
His dear heart. The Tiny Tim of our age. Right. So we're doing puzzle 1, 2, 3 from the Collins Crossword Challenge Book 2. 1, 2, 3. I thought that would be nice and easy to remember. So let's dive in.
I like it.
Right. Oh, I've got to start my timer. Hang on 1 second.
Everybody at home, you can start your timer too.
All our fans, do play along. I meant to say, actually, just before I press start, I was approached by a fan in the street this week. I say that he lives next door to us, and I had talked to him about the podcast, and he had very kindly listened to it. So, hello, Tom, if you're listening. Very, very grateful for that brief interaction with a genuine listener. Right. The clock's off and running. Clue 1, across.
All right.
Foolish. 4 letters. A very apt start.
4 letters.
So
pass on that. Why don't we look at 2 down, because I think that would help us, which is 5 letters and is one side of a gem.
Oh.
So I believe that is a facet.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. I was about to say we could go 1 down, which is intensified. 8 letters, which would give us the first letter of foolish. But maybe we can get foolish now with a 3rd letter of F. Foolish. So,
oh God,
I'm thinking like daft or
daft.
Daft. Ah, staring us in the face.
That's what I thought you said. I wouldn't have gotten it had you not said. You said something remarkably like that just before.
I did say Duff, Rob. You just misheard me.
Oh, you did?
I definitely did not say Duff, the brand of beer that Homer Simpson drinks.
So I'm going to take that one out of my column that we're keeping in our subtle competition of crosswordery.
Yes, please remove that post haste from the list of vengeance. One down. Intensified. 8 letters beginning with D.
8 letters beginning with D. Deepened?
Yeah. Let's pencil that one.
Well, extract would then start with E. It would be 7 letters long, and the third letter would be a C. So that could be extract or extract.
Yeah.
It's probably something as well.
Yeah, excrude is not a word, is it?
Extrude is a word.
But does have a T.
Yeah, and it's not exactly extrude is to pull something out. Let's look at another one. Let's come back.
Yeah, 11 across. Eager, 12 letters. That's a beast. Beginning with E, third letter T. Eager.
Beginning with, oh, right, if it's deepened. Yes, of course. Eager.
So enthusiastic would be my guess for that. Does it fit?
That fits, Theo. I think that's a good one. And this is going to open up all kinds of interesting territory. I'm writing in a pen today, which I may regret.
Ooh. As am I, actually. That's how confident we are by episode 3. We're penning them in.
Exactly. I have to admit that by the time I got to the last 2 or 3 letters of enthusiastic, I suddenly had that heart-stopping moment where I wasn't sure that it was actually going to fit, and then I would have penned in all the wrong letters and kind of made a mess of the crossword.
There's nothing worse than having to refashion the letters of a inaccurate answer. If you can hear a noise in the background, by the way, that's not my arse. Like for one of them.
Resonating in the cushions of the couch.
No, it's my dog snoring. So please don't falsely accuse me of flatulence.
I thought it was some form of machinery outside. That little guy's got a powerful snore.
Well, he is a Shih Tzu, God love him. So he's brachiocephalic. Do you know what that means? There's a crossword answer for you if ever there was one. It means his nose is upturned. I think it's brachiocephalic. Brachio something. Yeah. Brachiosaur. It's the only other word I could think of. Okay. We're losing focus here. We've got 25 minutes.
Did they have upturned noses, the Brachiosaurus?
Well, that's what I'm wondering now. I don't think they did. No.
There's some research in our future.
Yeah. Who knows?
If we have any paleontologists listening in,
yes,
if you can share with us any etymological relation between a brachiocephalic Shih Tzu and a Brachiosaurus, that would be greatly appreciated. I think all of our listeners would appreciate that. So if you can write in, we'll share that during the next podcast.
And make sure it's clearly marked in the subject so that we can find that email amid our sackfuls of fan mail.
Yes. And badly whittled toys by our fans.
Yes. Please send us your badly whittled or even better, expertly whittled dolls to pass on to our...
And if you can send that by priority post, Theo can sub in his poorly whittled terror objects for your nicely whittled objects and save his children's Christmas.
Absolutely. Please give what you can. Okay, 5 down. Person who listens into conversations. 12 letters.
An eaves... Oh, I should let our people at home.
Yeah, no,
yes,
you are right.
Sorry.
Staring us in the face. Eavesdropper, yeah? Oh, this is going well, Rob. We've got the 2 longest clues. Actually, there's one 2-word, job still to come, but let's save that for later. Do you want to choose where we go next?
Yeah, we have an infective agent, which starts with V. And then I thought for a second, because I'm always translating in my head between British English and Canadian English, having lived in the UK long enough to feel ashamed of my English. that we say V, we all agree on V, but North Americans or Americans and Brits disagree on Z. So Z is Z, but we don't say VED for V.
That's a very fair point. Yeah. I do find the Z thing actually quite annoying, mainly because my youngest is now at the learning the alphabet stage, and the song, of course, A B C D E F, is just better if you end in Z, because otherwise there's no rhyme.
Correct.
So with the increasing Americanization of our language, I'm sure it will only be a matter of time before we raise the white flag to Z. But in the meantime, when we get to the end of the song, I always make a point of saying Z very firmly and quickly before either of the children can dare to utter Z.
And then look at them knowingly in the eyes. This is your heritage, children. Do not abandon it lightly.
Meaning I'll then be remembered not only as the guy with, badly whittled doll toys, but also, the guy who was always correcting us on how to pronounce particular letters. What a great guy he was. Yeah.
And what an anachronism.
Yeah. We all become pedants in our later years. It's inevitable.
It's the push-pull of culture. They stretch the elastic, and then we get pushed into the position of holding it firm and not letting it stretch too far.
Yeah. Which reminds me of that glorious joke. I think it's Jimmy Carr. I was doing a show to an American audience the other day, and a guy came up to me afterwards and said, "I found your show a little patronizing." And I said, "I think you'll find that's patronizing." Okay.
Okay, infective agent, starting with VED.
Yes, infective agent. VED. Virus.
A virus.
Indeed.
6 down. Hasty. It is 7 letters long. The third letter is an R, and the fifth letter is an I. Hasty. Could be hurried.
Oh, it could be, Rob. Yes, you're right. Hurried. Let's lightly pen it.
Yeah, lightly pen it, because, let's see what 15 across is, which I think is where you were going, which is a feeling of resentment. If we accepted hurried into our crossword, we would have 6 letters, space R, space D, space, for feeling of resentment.
A grudge.
Yes.
That would fit, wouldn't it?
Good one. Yeah. So I don't think we can put hurried in yet, because chances are that hasty, there's a good chance it would have ended with D regardless of the word. So 3 across, one with another would be 8 letters long. 4th letter E, 6th letter H if we accept hurried. One with another. Oh, together.
Yeah. I'm finding this crossword a little on the underwhelming side.
Yeah, we need something. We need some meat. Come on, Collins.
Help us out, Colin. Exposed to danger, 4 letters beginning with R, third letter S. I mean, I'm just going to say it because that's risk, isn't it? That is risk.
Yes, and I'm not going to say that I didn't know what it was. As Zeus saws away on the floor.
Yeah, Zeus farts/snores on the chaise longue. God love him. 4 down. Make a larger offer at auction. Oh, again, this is very easy. 6 letters.
Yes.
It's outbid, isn't it?
I would agree.
Although we're still not any closer to extract.
No. No, we are not. So, okay, well, let's try and hit another home run swing, or swing for a 6 for our British listeners. A type of error in speech. 8 letters, 4 letters. I'm going to put my little line after 8 letters so I know it separates.
Good discipline. Good crossword discipline.
So a type of error in speech, 8 letters, 4 letters. The fourth letter of the first word is a U, and that's all we have.
Is all we have. Type of error in speech.
I think we're going to have to come back to that one.
I think we are. That could be an interesting one.
I think we might have some challenges ahead.
Yeah, you're right. I've underestimated puzzle 1, 2, 3.
To your detriment.
To my cost, my eternal cost. There's another big one, which is compensate for 12 letters. And we only have one letter, which is the 8th letter, which is P. Compensate for.
Compensate for.
Reimburse? No, because that doesn't have a P, does it?
The re makes sense to me. I think that's too big of a one to take on right now.
This is suddenly catching us.
What about 18 down, gold block?
How many letters? 5 letters.
Is a gold ingot a block, or is it just a sort of amorphous chunk of gold? That I never figured out.
I only know of bars and ingots, and I think ingot fits. And I don't know I agree it feels smaller to me than a sort of a block. But we don't have any better ideas, so let's lightly pen ingot.
If ingot is 18 down, then 23 across would be agitate with 4 letters, the second letter being a T.
Agitate.
I thought stir, but is that...
Yeah.
Like stir up a mob?
Yeah.
Stir a drink is to agitate it. Agitate its molecules into a greater motion.
I think that's worth a light pen, particularly seeing as we're over halfway through, time-wise, and only about halfway through crossword-wise. So,
after the failure of episode 2, I think we have to put the pedal to the metal. Okay, here, Theo. Oh, I was going to say vessel that cleans rivers. We could try the 21 across to see if we can validate. But is it ingot or it's ingot, right? NG, right? Yes.
I've gone INGOT. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then vessel that cleans rivers would be 7 letters.
Oh, dredge.
Dredger,
yeah. I'm going to save us time on 12 down because that one is that. I mean, that's an absolute open goal. University teacher, 8 letters. Clearly lecturer.
Space E, space, R, space R, a lecturer.
So that further validates stir, incidentally. So I think we can stick at stir.
We can heavy pen that one in.
Absolutely. Heavy penning. I like that could become a thing.
Compensate for.
Yeah.
Well, let's just check in on compensate for our listeners at home. It's 12 across, but the last 5 letters are P space I space T.
Which implies...
It's not speaking to me yet.
INT finish or IST?
Because it could be print or point.
Oh, yes, point.
Anyway, let's come back to it.
Yeah, let's come back to it. 16 down. Introduction, 4-2. And the first word ends in D. So I would say I've got a guess for that one. But actually, I'm not sure. Well, it's lead in.
I was thinking of an introduction of 2 people to one another, but a lead in is, I think, I'd be ready to do some light penning on that one.
Okay, let's lightly pen.
Well, let's look at greedy. 22 across is greedy. It's 8 letters, and lead in would make the second last letter an N.
Greedy, like a Western child at Christmas. 22 across.
Well, 19 down is a mass of floating ice, and it's 4 letters. We have no letters. Could that be a berg?
it's got to be a berg, hasn't it? If it was smaller, it could be a cube, but a mass has got to be a berg.
A mass, yeah. And then that would make 20 across. Electronic communication would be 5 letters starting in E. Email.
Yes, this is okay. This is coming together, Rob, in the nick of time. 10 minutes to go. 22 across. Greedy now begins with a G. See, gluttony fits, but I don't like gluttony if the clue is greedy, because greedy.
Gluttony if it were greed, but
Yeah, exactly so.
well, let's look at some ones we haven't. Proportionately, 14 down would be 3 letters, 4 letters. The second word, 4 letters long, is space A, space, space, and we have no letters in the first word. Proportionately. Could be pro rata.
Oh, a little bit of Latin there. That's lovely. That's elevated crossword 1, 2, 3. Yes, I think that would work. Which means it's definitely not gluttony, because that now gives us a third letter of A in greedy.
Yes. So it was potentially G space A, space, 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 N space for our listeners at home. Okay, let's look at 13 across. Liveliness, E space P space, space, space. Liveliness.
I wouldn't know anything about that. N. Dear.
Yeah. Problematic. No. Extract.
Incidentally, we do now have another letter in 17 across, which is compensate for. So the second letter, which, as a reminder, compensate for 12 letters. We now have space O, space, 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 E, space P, space I, space T. Compensate for.
Yeah. Counterpoint.
Counterpoint. I see, I was going to say counterpoint earlier when you said it probably ends in point. And I thought, does that really mean compensate for? But I suppose it does, in a sense.
Yeah, in a sense, it's the opposite that balances. But I guess we were too hung up on the idea of compensating for a wrong or a loss or... Oh, well. Let's not lose sleep over it. A type of error in speech is very long. It is 8 letters and then 4 letters. The first word has a 4th letter of U and ends in N, and the second word is space L space space. A type of error in speech.
Like a double entendre, which obviously doesn't fit. Or, I mean, a spoonerism, which is obviously a single word. Or a... Oh, no. Let's think about the second word.
I've got greedy. I've got greedy.
This is huge. Drum roll.
Grasping.
Oh, staring us in the face again. But well done.
Oh, and I've got 8 down. Theo, we're moving.
Hang on, let me try. So, type of error in speech. Oh, a Freudian slip. Oh.
Yeah, as soon as it was space L space P, that it had to be slip, and then Freud just popped his head over the parapet and stared at us with his Germanic countenance.
A debut for Dr. Freud on the podcast, who incidentally, so my grandmother's family were from Vienna originally and knew Dr. Freud, apparently. And
really?
Even, there's a story about either my grandmother or probably my great-grandmother sitting on his knee, which always immediately makes me think of a sort of Freudian moment. But I think it was just an indication of how close the families were.
Children could sit on the knees of non-parental adults.
Yes.
That's how things were in the late 19th, early 20th century, whereas now, don't you dare come close to my kids.
Quite. Especially in the cradle of culture that was Vienna.
Yes. So 13 across.
Liveliness. E space P space I space. Liveliness.
So now I'm going to bring out my French background, being a Montrealer that I am. And that word is a French word. It is esprit, or esprit, as we might say in English.
This is why, Rob. This is why you're on the podcast. You know, your bilinguality.
Now, all we need is a Roman Catholic priest of the old school who has a strong command of Latin and maybe an ancient Greek someone, and we would be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody at home who has not been following the excitement on the page, we are one clue away from solving this, and we're probably about 3 minutes, although I don't have the timer.
We are 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So this is going to be, but we have worryingly had all the letters on this for a while. And it's our old friend extract. Can we extract an answer?
In 4 minutes. So everybody at home, extract. We have all the letters we are going to be given, and the rest has to be done by us. Extract. E space C space R space T. Extract. Oh, I got it. It's not to extract something. It's an extract, for instance, from a text.
Okay, shamefully, I haven't got that yet. Oh. No. An N. You're going to have to tell me, Rob.
It is our friend, the excerpt.
Oh, yes, of course it is.
You don't want to join me in the podcast 3 where we aired out the swearery. I think I'm one shat and one shit into the podcast. So you didn't want to join me on that one?
No need.
No need.
There was an embarrassing stage where my daughter used to say, "Oh, for fuck," when she was really frustrated about something. She would go, "Oh, for fuck," because she'd clearly heard me stopping myself on so many occasions. Anyway, little insight into my parenting. So, we're done.
Yes, we are done. I was going to say, I love how those terms make it down the generations of the swear. So my father was not a religious man, but you wouldn't know it from his preferred curse words, which were all biblical. So the J-bomb, as it were, and other things of that nature. So if you were sort of upstairs and you opened the fridge and realized that someone had put the orange juice in empty, classic kid move, and then you'd hear, "Jesus Christ," resonating from the kitchen, and you'd know not to go down. But anyway, I must have picked it up because I guess I say it. And now my kids, I hear it echoing, my father echoing back to me they'll sort of let a JC rumble when they're angry about something. And I think, oh man, there it is. Passed down from generation to generation.
It's in this sort of secular age, I think it's quite an inherently comic the J-bomb, because it encapsulates a level of frustration that's not somehow kind of violent in a way that an F-bomb obviously would be. So you can sort of say, "Oh, Christ," like in that famous, the clip at Richmond Park, make that over to Canada. Did that go viral in Canada? Where a guy is chasing after his dog called Fenton. I think the dog was called Fenton. In Richmond Park, because the dog is chasing deer and he completely loses control of the dog, and all you hear from off camera is this guy, "Done and done," and then it climaxes with him shouting, "Jesus Christ, and it's very, very, very funny. Hence why it went viral. But again, it's that use of the J-bomb to such comic effect.
Well, the thing about it, it's a pronouncement in the way that an F-bomb isn't. Like an F-bomb is a one syllable, whereas Jesus Christ it's a very, you can really lean into it, which most conventional swears don't allow you to, which I think accounts for its staying power.
It's quite operatic, isn't it? It's quite, there's a musicality to a Jesus Christ.
There really is.
On which note, we look forward to the season of the birth of our Lord and Saviour, and I wish you all the very best. And along with all our listeners, of course, all of them, Tom and my mum now. Hello, both.
My mum's listening too.
3 listeners.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a nice break from whatever it is that you do. And from our listeners in non-Christian countries, we hope that we haven't offended you with holiday bon ami.
And in fact, our listeners who are themselves Christian, we hope we haven't offended you by just screaming Jesus Christ multiple times.
I think we're on 8 so far. That's pretty good.
I do like the idea we have a global audience. I must say, actually, I wasn't sure whether to reveal this statistic. So I am the uploader of the podcast, so I do have privileged access to our demographic information. I can reveal that so far, it's something in the region of 75 to 80% of our listeners are in Canada. So I feel we should begin skewing our content more heavily towards them. Actually, on that note, I did mean to ask about your winter. Is it snowing there? I can see a bit of snow behind you out the window.
No, so it's okay. So this has been a very interesting start to the season. When I was abroad, we got 30 odd centimeters of snow, like a good proper dump. And then it got really cold, and then it rained and it melted and became ice. And so when I got back, there was just a mess of ice. And then yesterday and the day before, we got 5 centimeters of rain. It went up to 10 degrees. It poured, everything melted. So there's no snow out there. But apparently tonight it's supposed to go down to -10. So we're no snow, but we're back to seasonal cold.
Okay.
Back on track. But for those wishing for a white Christmas, it's touch and go this year.
Wow. There's a thing. I would have put good money on a white Christmas in Montreal, but yeah, not to be.
In this era of global warming, it is no longer an assured thing. When I was a kid, you didn't even think about it. There was guaranteed a good foot on the ground, but now that is not assured anymore. And I'm going to Toronto, which is on Lake Ontario, which has the lake effect, which basically insulates it from much snow. And there's almost never a white Christmas anymore there.
No. On which cheery note of the imminent apocalypse of our climate, have a lovely Christmas, everyone. And we'll see you on the other side.
Two Across is written, produced, mimed, and other things by Rob Cole and Theo Bosenket. Theme show music by Enthusiasts. Look for this podcast and future episodes, if we ever post it, where you get your favorite podcasts.